Good afternoon, children. Auntie Nadish is here with another exciting story. So, this story is gonna be about a little girl. A little girl who is selling matches. And this story is so exciting. I hope you will enjoy it. So, let's dive into the story. Give me some minutes. Now, children, as you all can see this, it was a cold and snowy New Year's night. The people were passing with their warm coats, gloves, and scarves. So, as you can see in this, see, look at all the streets are covered with snow and the people are walking by. So, this is the New Year's night. It's going to be very exciting and interesting. Now, all these people, they were all in a rush to get somewhere. So, this little girl with the hat and the lady with the pink hat and a nice bow, they were all in a rush to get somewhere. So, let's see what is the story about. Are you all with me? Now, some were late in rushing to get home, and some were going to a venue to celebrate the New Year. So, some were actually rushing to get to their houses, and some were going to another place to celebrate the New Year. Like even us children, when we are celebrating the New Year, we go to our friends' places, we go to our relations' houses, and we celebrate the New Year. So that is very exciting and happy moments. Look how these children wear nice caps and coats, and how these girls are wearing nice frocks with blue color ribbons. Look how pretty they look. So let's go to the other slide and see what the story is about. Now. Children were running around in the street, throwing snowballs to each other. Of course, they were the ones enjoying the snow the most. They were playing with each other and laughing at themselves. Look how they are enjoying. They throw snowballs at each other. Do you all like snow? Auntie Nadisha loves snow and the cold. See how they run into each other and playing very happily. Wow, those are happy moments. Now, when we look at the other slide, oh, there's a girl. Shall we see who this girl is? Yes. Yeah, children. Now, let's get back to the story. But on the streets, there lived a girl who's different to the ones that were playing. This little girl was standing in the middle of the street watching the other kids play. She did not have a hat to protect her from the cold like others. So this little girl is not like the other little children who are enjoying the snow. She did not have a hat to protect herself from the cold. Her clothes were very light and her clothes were ripped. Oh, this poor girl is suffering so much from the cold. Now, shall we see what is happening to this poor girl? And see, children, and the slippers on her feet didn't fit her right. They were very big. Look at her slippers, her feet and her slippers are tattered and torn. No wonder she's suffering from the cold. Let's see what's going to happen to her next. Now. Can you see this street? Covered with snow, lots of houses and buildings. So this little girl, she was holding a box in her hands. So as you can see, children, she was holding a box in her hands, shivering from the freezing cold, because unlike the other children, she did not have blouses, she did not have warm coats or even a snow cap. This little girl barely noticed the car coming right at her. Look at a car coming right at her. Now, what this driver on the car says? Hey kid, stay on the side of the road. You're going to get a run over. This girl, look, she's now terrified. Let's see what happened to this little girl who is shivering from the freezing cold. I feel so sorry for her, children. Now what happens? The little girl threw herself on the sidewalk that second, but she was running with very big slippers on her feet, flew off. As she was running, what happened? The very big slippers that she was wearing flew off. See, as you can see, the slippers, they are out. Now let's see what happens to this girl. Now. When she was on the sidewalk, she turned around and looked. She saw a boy running with her slippers. Oh no, my slippers, she yelled and ran after him. But the kid ran away fast. So what did the little match girl do? Hey, stop! She cried after him. But having no choice but to walk barefoot, she sought for a shelter next to a wall. See, children, this little boy took her slippers and ran. Is it a good thing to do? We should never take the things of others. That is a very, very bad habit. Since this little boy took these slippers from the little girl, she has to walk barefoot. She cannot wear her slippers again. So let's see what's going to happen next. Now, this little girl came closer to a wall shelter. She opened the box she had been holding. So let's see, what is this box she has been holding into? And she put it down. Okay, now children, let's see what's going to happen next. So she's putting the box down. Look at her clothes. Look how old her clothes are, how tattered and torn. No wonder she's freezing from the cold. Now, she was looking in the box full of matches with her eyes watery from the cold. So, this girl is almost in tears, children. This was a little match girl. See how poor she is, her clothes tattered, and she's holding on to a big box with matches. So, this is our little match girl. But she could not even sell one box of matches that day. So, children, she was not fortunate enough to even to sell a single box of matches. If she could make a sale and earn some money, she could go home and have at least a bowl of warm soup with her mother. So she did not earn anything. So she even cannot have a bowl of warm soup with her mother. So what she started doing now? So she started yelling with her thin, shivering voice from cold and sadness. She's very sad because she could not sell even one box of matches. How poor she is, children. Now, let's see what happens to this match girl. Matches, matches. Anyone wants matches? Matches. She cried and cried. Nobody on the street paid any attention to her. So what did she do next? So she sat down next to the wall. Her fingers started to ache from the cold, but she could not bear the pain anymore. See, children, this little girl is suffering from cold. And her fingers started to ache from the cold. What happens even if we start to, hold a cube of ice? After a little while, it becomes difficult for us. So imagine children, winter, with snow, with a lot of freezing cold. How is she going to stay without any warm clothes? So let's see. Somehow this match girl had to warm up. So what did she do? She opened a box and pulled out a match. Her fingers were numb and she could barely hold a match. With her shivering hands, what did she do? She lit the match on the wall, and suddenly what happened? A warm orange light surrounded her. That is at least a good thing. Let's see what's happening, children. Poor girl passed the match from one hand to the other to warm her fingers. Her hands were not cold anymore. I'm so happy for our little match girl because her hands were not cold anymore. Now, children, what happens next? She found herself in front of a burning stove. She stared at the fire and started dreaming. So now what happens? She started dreaming. She was sitting in front of a big stove in a beautiful room. So she was sitting in front of a big stove. Look how big and beautiful this room is. With a nice bookshelf and a nice stool, a piano. Wow. And what else? Our little match girl had a woolen sweater around her, furry boots on her feet, and a beanie on her head. It was so hot, she began to sweat. So what happens, children? Now, little match girl has furry boots and a woolen sweater and a beanie on her head. It was so hot, she began to sweat. So let's see what happens next. But suddenly, what happens? The match went out. Oh no! With the match out, those sweet dreams also, what happened, children? They vanished. Poor little girl. I'm so sad for her. Let's see what's going to happen next. Her little fingers began to ache and freeze once again. So what happened? Her fingers began to ache and freeze once again. Now, what happens? She took her courage and she lit up another match. At that moment, a cold wind blew. The little girl turned to the wall to keep the match from going out, and she covered the fire with her hands while she was looking at it. Now what happens? Suddenly, the bowl vanished and opened up. This is very exciting. Let's see what happens next. Are you all curious, children? Auntie Nadish is very curious to see what happens next. Now. There was a big room inside. There were all sorts of food spread on a table with a white cloth and silver candlesticks. The candlesticks on the table lit up the room like daylight. This is a very nice sight to see. Lots of food, lots of happiness, and our little match girl seems to be very happy. So let's continue the story. Now, she stayed at the table, and so in the middle of the table, there was a beautifully grilled big piece of meat. So what did she see? A big piece of meat. She immediately ripped a piece of it and put it in her mouth. Suddenly, she wasn't hungry anymore. So this little match girl ripped a piece of it and put it in her mouth. How sweet for her. So she wasn't hungry anymore. Let's see. Now this little match girl was so hungry, she wanted to take another piece of meat. So let's see. What happens next. So now what happens, children? The little match girl wanted to take another piece of meat. Let's see. She reached out. The match she had in her hand went out pretty fast. So what happens? She threw the match away. As soon as she threw the match away, the piece on the table and the room vanished. What happens now? The bowl reappeared. Oh no, that is so sad. Our little match girl will be outside in the freezing cold. Let's see what happens to her next. Little match girl didn't give up her hopes. In life also, children, we should never give up hopes. So what did she do? She lit another match, and now she was in an even bigger dream. So this little girl is now in an even bigger dream. She was sitting under a tree on a summer night, looking at the stars above. It was still warm, even though it was nighttime. The little girl could not take eyes off the stars. See how beautiful the night is, children. There are lots of stars, and our little match girl couldn't take her eyes off the stars. That is a very nice sight. Do you love stars, children? I love stars, and I love to walk at night because it is very beautiful and very peaceful. So let's see what happens next. Are you all curious? I'm super curious. Now, she never saw the sky and the stars so clear and sparkling. Wow! Can you see, children? We have sparkling stars. Before then, suddenly, what did she see? Let me check. She saw a shooting star. Wow. What is she seeing now? She's seeing a shooting star. Let's see what happens next. The story is getting interesting. Now she thought to herself, there goes another one of us flying into eternity. How does she know this? Let's check it out. These are actually not little match girl's thoughts. These are actually her grandmother's words. Now what happens next? At that moment, she saw her grandmother appear. Can you all see, children? Little match girl is seeing her grandmother. Let's see. Now. What does her grandmother used to tell her? When you see a shooting star, know that someone will take its place, my dear. Her grandmother was visible for a brief moment. So she only got to see her grandmother for a short period. Now, this story is very interesting. Let's see what happens next. And when she disappeared, the little match girl called after her grandmother. Grandmother, please stop. Don't go. Don't go. Please, I really missed you. So this little match girl is really missing her grandmother. One more time, she took up courage and she lit another match. This girl forgot how she was freezing from cold in the middle of the street, and she started dreaming once again. We all like to dream, children. I hope you all like to dream too. So let's see what happens next. Now, every time she lit up a match, she found herself as she was seeing her grandmother and hearing her voice. So what happens? Every time she lit up a match, she found herself as she was seeing her grandmother and hearing her voice. So let's see what's happening next. The little match girl lit up another match and her surroundings lit up like daylight. So again, the surroundings around her lit up like daylight. It's so colorful. And she saw her grandmother. She never saw her grandmother this beautiful before. Okay. Next, children. Her loving face made her forget all the cold and bitter days she had never been through. So her grandmother's loving face made her forget all the bitter days she had ever been through. The day she couldn't sell matches, the day she was sad, the day she was feeling so cold. She forgot everything. She did not want this moment to finish, so she lit up the final match in a hurry. Let's see what happens next. Her grandmother appeared in front of her, and she reached out her arms to hold the little match girl's hand. They started to fly up into the sky together. The little girl felt a sudden relief. There was no cold, no hunger anymore. At that moment, another shooting star went on by. So what happened? The little girl flew up to the heavens with her grandmother. Now in the morning, the people who passed on the street saw the little match girl laying down by the wall. So all these people saw the little match girl laying down by the wall, her eyes closed, but with a sweet smile on her face. Look at the smile that she has on her face, children. All the people are looking at her. Now, children, the little match girl had a lot of burnt matches around her. The matches which, with their flames, brought her dreams alive that no one would ever dream about. So what happened? The little match girl flew off to heavens with her grandmother. And look at all these burned matches around her. The matches which helped her to get out from the freezing cold and to dream about the miracles and the wonders that she is dreaming about. So, children, coming back from the story, as you can see, the good things that we can get from the story is the first thing, we should be always kind to one another. And the second thing, as this little boy did, we should never ever steal things from another person. And also, we have to be very kind to each other. So those are the good morals that we can pick up from the story. And Auntie Nadisha will come again with another exciting story from the series of Once Upon a Time. I hope you all enjoy this story session. See you at the next session. Children, have a great day. Take care.